where superheroes meet high fashion. In conjunction with the Red 5 Network, we're proud to present Comics and Cosmetics.
This month on Comics and Cosmetics, we're celebrating one of the greatest guys who ever lived, my little brother Steven. And we were huge nerds. No one loved Star Trek and X-Men and nerdy shit more than I did, other than my little brother Steven. So this month, I decided each episode of Comics and Cosmetics will be dedicated to Steven's favorite characters. What's blue, yellow, and concussive red? No, it's Cyclops, the first X-Men, and we're about to dive right in right now. What is up, sexy nerdlings, and welcome back to my channel! Alright, good job! If you're new, welcome. Make sure you smash that like button, hit the subscribe, and ring the bell so you can get notified whenever I'm back with another one of these magnificent videos. I'm Danny Sanssouci, licensed cosmetologist and registered super nerd, and this is Comics and Cosmetics, where I talk about whatever nerdy topic I've been obsessing about that week while doing my makeup at the same time, while you watch. This week, as I told you, from the future, we're talking about the very first and the very best X-Man, Cyclops. Now, Cyclops, Scott Summers, first appeared in X-Men #1 in September of 1963 and was created by the legendary Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. And I'm going to combine the original story from issues 53, 54 of the X-Men comics in the 60s and the more recent X-Men Origins, Cyclops, Eyes Wide Open. Now, in the original runs, we have Scott Summers, who's from Anchorage, Alaska, and his parents, Chris and Kathy, and his brother, Alex. And when he was 10 years old, he believed his parents died in a plane crash, and he and his brother were sent to different boys' homes and adopted out. And it wasn't until Scott was already Cyclops and the first X-Man before he discovers his brother Alex again. Now, in X-Men Origins, we see the Summers family, having a little day, having a family trip on their plane, but they're being chased by a spaceship. And we find out later that it's actually a Shi'ar spaceship. And as this Shi'ar ship is chasing them, and their father Chris, who is an Air Force pilot, who was on his way to becoming an astronaut, is trying to evade this ship. Their mother, Kathy, puts Scott in the only parachute they have and tells him to hold on to his brother very tight as she pushes him out the plane. Mind you, Scott is 10 years old when this happens. So as he is clutching his little brother Alex tight, he sings a song to him, or has his brother sing this song that their dad used to sing to him to kind of relax him and help him not paying attention that the ground is coming very, very close. And, the Shi'ar actually shot through their parachute, so now their parachute has holes in it, and their, ground's coming much faster. But they survive, and they spend the night out there in the woods, and Scott starts complaining about headaches. And Alex is like, "Are you okay?" And he says, "Yeah, it's probably just from, maybe I hit my head, maybe I have a concussion." And his little brother's like, "You've been complaining about these headaches for a while." And he's like, No, it's fine. It's just a concussion. Let's just get some sleep." And that's when Alex starts freaking out. He's like, "Well, if you have a concussion, you shouldn't go to sleep. You could die." Well, later, some military guys show up, and he sends Alex to go hide first. But when he realizes that they're U.S. military and they're there to help, he calls Alex back out, and he tells him, "Don't worry, I'm going to take care of you." Well, then you flash forward about 7 years, and Scott is in a group home, and he's by himself. He's 17 years old, and he's having another one of his headaches. And this time, the headache is followed up by his very first optical emission. That's always an awkward experience for a young man. Well, it blows a hole through the wall of the group home, and Scott immediately runs off. He, saying he's sorry, he's got to get out of there, and he runs away. In the original X-Men stories, it's when Scott runs away that he saves someone's life. He's out in public, and this air conditioning unit starts to fall on this man, this innocent bystander, and he uses his optic blast to disintegrate the AC unit and save the man. Well, people see him do this, and they freak out because, mutants are social pariahs at this point in time. And remember, X-Men, the comic, was an allegory for racism and discrimination. So here this 17-year-old boy sees someone almost die, and he tries to save him, and what happens? The townspeople figuratively grab their pitchforks and they start chasing him. And he's terrified. He's a young man, he can't go to the police or these homeless people. They're all trying to attack him. So he comes across this shack, and it's inhabited by this very friendly guy who goes by the name Jack Winters. And during this explosion, he gets his mutant powers unlocked, and he possesses telepathy, teleportation, and diamond sharp hands. How do those things go together? But he calls himself Jack O'Diamonds, and he tells Scott that he can stay there with him. Like, oh, that seems nice. What's the catch? You're telling me that this guy with all these superpowers and diamond sharp hands isn't on the up and up? No. So Jack convinces Scott to stay with him and, basically help him be a criminal. Jack wanted to turn his whole body into diamond. At one point, the police show up, and Jack teleports he and Scott out of there and takes him to the Cyclotron Center. That's where he's wanting to try and turn his whole body into diamond. Well, Professor X shows up. He used Cerebro, the prototype for Cerebro, and saw that Scott was nearby and needed help and was trying to help him. Well, Jack had talked Scott into being a dirty, dirty thief with him and destroys the building, makes the building fall on top of Professor X. Well, Jack is successful in turning himself into diamond, and he's like, aha, I am now a living diamond. I don't know why anyone would want that. It just sounds like there would be problems. So Professor X is actually able to escape the rubble, and he finds Scott and convinces him to join him. He's like, listen, is this really the life you want? I can help you. I can help you, find a way to control your powers and give you somewhat of a more normal life, a comfortable life where you're not treated like a second-class citizen. And so Scott says, okay, sounds good, and helps the professor by reversing the process on the cyclotron, and it actually reduces Jack O'Diamonds to atoms. He just completely disintegrates him. Scott goes with Professor X, and he is the very first X-Man. In Cyclops' Eyes Wide Open, Professor X finds him in an alley, and he gives him a visor and says, here, you should put this on. This will, help you keep your eyes open without optic blasts destroying whatever you're looking at. It's made from red quartz. It helps, filter light and energy. And because of his abilities, Professor X gives him the name Cyclops. And like I said, he has a brother named Alex, who we later discover in that first X-Men run that he is a mutant as well. And his name is Havoc. He has a similar ability to Scott. His just come from his body, his chest area. Now, a lot of people these days don't really know who Cyclops really is, because he was so mistreated in the movies. Cyclops not only has these optic blasts that aren't lasers, they're concussive. It's like a punch, like a really, really hard punch. But he doesn't just have these optic blasts that come out of his eyes. Obviously, optic. Hello. But he is, and he's just almost a superpowered tactician. Kind of like Batman in the DC universe, he has contingencies for every single super he's ever met. Every mutant, every enhanced person. This is the guy that walks in the room and immediately establishes how to take out every single person in there if he has to. Yeah, he can do that. He's an expert in spatial geometry, kind of how Cap can throw his shield and bounce it off 500 different things and hit exactly this one specific fly on the other side of the room. Cyclops can do that better. His blasts are so powerful that he once knocked Mjolnir out of Thor's hand. It's pretty serious. Unfortunately, he has zero control over his optic blasts. The only control he has is through his visor. He can't turn them off. Technically, when his eyes are open, those optic blasts are coming out. He is very much like Captain America in the respect that he's a soldier. He has integrity, conviction. He has a job to do, and he's going to do it. He is legitimately just a good guy. I mean, he's not a doormat. He's just not a weenie nice guy who's a pushover. He's a leader. He is a true leader. And everything he went through as a child up into his adult life has prepared him for that and made him even more so that of the perfect leader. I mean, there's a reason why Professor Xavier made him kind of his successor. Now, of course, you can't talk about Cyclops without discussing his relationship with Jean Grey, and by extension, his relationship with the Wolverine. Now, when Jean Grey was introduced in the 60s, she was pretty much a damsel in distress that Cyclops was always saving. Because remember, in this time period, we had the comic code of authority, and it really screwed the female supers, big time. Because of Cyclops always coming to Jean Grey's rescue and rescuing her, a romance developed. And that's where we got the relationship with Jean Grey and Cyclops. Well, then you get the introduction of Wolverine and how he's always pining for Jean. You get this, impression, here's this bad boy, this devil-may-care, bad attitude, virtually immortal dude just coming in and hitting on your girl. But the misconception that a lot of people have these days, thanks to the X-Men movies, is that Cyclops is some whiny dude who deserves to have his girl taken away because he's just so beta. And that is not how Cyclops was in the comics at all. Wolverine and Cyclops were both alpha males. They were both alpha leader types. And Cyclops was never considered, some kind of milquetoast douchebag by Wolverine at all. He respected Cyclops as a leader and as a teammate. Now, was he in love with Cyclops' girl? Sure was, but he respected him as a leader. He called him Slim, but that was because he was so tall. And that was another problem you had with the movies. If you were going to have Hugh Jackman play Wolverine, fine. Okay. I mean, yeah, he's well over 5 foot tall, but if you were going to have Hugh Jackman play Wolverine, then you should have gotten someone like 7 or 8 feet tall to play Cyclops, because that was the thing in the comics that, if Wolverine even tried to kind of run his mouth, just Cyclops kind of towered over him. He was so much bigger than he was. But from those movies, you get this impression that he was just this weenie, this pushover, and he most certainly was not a pushover. Now, the thing that my brother and I always loved about these comics, and the thing that I think everyone loves about X-Men comics, the thing that people love about Marvel comics in general, is the relatability factor. And as great a guy as Cyclops was, he wasn't infallible. Not at all. He made some mistakes. Most notably, Madeline Pryor. There was this mutant bad guy who goes by the name Mr. Sinister, and he was obsessed with Jean and Scott. He believed that if they were to have a child, that child would be insanely powerful, like stupid OP. So when Jean died, needless to say, he was mildly put out. So he clones her, as you do when you have a nefarious plan and your linchpin dies. And therefore, we get Madeline Pryor. Now, Scott meets her, and he's like, wow, she looks just like my dead wife. Perfectly normal. And he starts a relationship with her. Nothing to see here. Totally normal. Well, he marries her and gets her pregnant. And like things happen in Marvel Comics, Jean Grey comes back. Yep, she comes back. Who didn't see that coming? We all saw that coming. So Jean Grey comes back, and it tears Scott up. Like, he had left the X-Men. He left the X-Men. He was going to be father and a husband. He was done. He was done with it. But then Jean comes back, and he gets really torn up about it. Like, what do I do? What do I do? I said I was going to do this, but now she's back. What do I do? Well, he leaves her and joins X Factor. He leaves his pregnant wife. And how many people can say what exactly they would do in that situation? You don't know. You haven't been in it. So he was married to Jean before she died. That did happen. So, technically, if she's not dead, that's still his wife. So he leaves his pregnant wife. Well, this upsets her, understandably. And she makes some deals with some demons and sends their newborn son into the future. That son grows up to be Cable. Very powerful indeed. Now, we all know that the MCU is getting ready to bring in the X-Men. We're getting ready to get some mutants in the MCU. Finally. And for the sake of all of us, Kevin Feige, give us a decent Cyclops, please. Don't make him some whiny wuss bag. That's just disrespectful. Cyclops is not only supposed to be someone that we can relate to, but he's supposed to be someone that inspires us. Someone who overcame great trauma and adversity to become this leader of men and women alike. You know, husband to Jean, father to Hope and Cable. Nathan is actually his name, Nathan Summers. You know, he and Jean in one story actually go to the future and raise Cable there themselves. You know, like most kids who grew up in the 80s and 90s, my brother and I watched the X-Men animated series. Who didn't love that animated series? Oh my God, it was so good. I remember being a kid and trying to explain to people why I liked it so much. And all I could say was, like, it seems to be the most realistic. I was 12, okay? I didn't know how to say,
I enjoy it because it's a character-driven drama.
With the news that we're getting X-Men 97 on Disney Plus, I mean, that's exciting, right? The X-Men animated series from the 90s was so good. There's really nothing that compares to it these days. And getting that series back, knowing we are going to get a continuation of that, is just really exciting. And that means we're actually going to get good representation of Cyclops again. Like, thank you. Like, I don't think people realize just how many actual X-Men fans were extremely put off by the character they created for James Marsden to portray on film. That wasn't Cyclops. And compared to all the other characters in those movies, he didn't get hardly the screen time that everyone else did. And I'm not shaming James Marsden at all. He did the best he could with what he was given. But we just haven't had a good representation of him on film. It's almost like they don't know what to do with him. Like, they wanted us rooting for Wolverine to steal his girlfriend. And that was never even really a possibility in the comics. Like, she maybe flirted with Wolverine a little bit, but Scott was always it for her. And let's be really real here. If Cyclops wanted to destroy Wolverine, he could with those optic blasts of his. I mean, honestly, they can't get that X-Men 97 out fast enough for me. So this month happens to be the month of my brother's birthday. It's been almost 10 years since he left us. And I thought it was only fair, since he was my very first nerdy partner, that I talk about his favorites this month. And his favorite X-Man was most definitely Cyclops. And it totally makes sense, because my brother was the best dude ever. And I'm going to continue that theme throughout the rest of the month. So what do you guys think? Got a favorite Cyclops story? Did you like the portrayal by James Marsden and that other guy? If you did, or if you didn't, comment down below. Let me know. Sure love talking to you guys. All right, nerdlings, that's all I got for you today on Cyclops, the very first X-Man in my Cyclops X-Men inspired look. You know what, guys? I'm liking the blue lipstick. Yeah, I enjoy it. If you want to keep up to date on what's happening with Comics and Cosmetics, then please follow us on all the socials at Comics and Cosmetics. We're even on Twitter. Twitter's probably your best bet to stay absolutely up to date on everything that's going on. I do show up on some other podcasts and YouTube channels. I am a part of the Red 5 network, and we tend to hang out quite a lot. We are uploading every Saturday with another inspired look and geeky content, and every Sunday we are going live to talk about Moon Knight. That's right, every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you will find me and some of my friends hanging out and talking Moon Knight, picking out some Easter eggs, sprinkling a little speculation, and breaking the episode down for you. So make sure you hang out with us every Sunday. We do have a live chat, and we just love talking to you guys. If there is a character or a subject you'd like me to cover, comment down below. Get a hold of me on one of the socials. I'm always happy to hear a suggestion. It's hard coming up with all these wonderful ideas all by myself. Later this month, we have a pretty exciting interview happening, and I really can't wait to blab all about it to you guys. So make sure you hop in tomorrow night, guys, at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Comics and Cosmetics so we can talk about episode 2 of Moon Knight. After Moon Knight ends, we will be discussing Obi-Wan Kenobi every Sunday, and then Miss Marvel. Until then, nerdlings, have a wizard day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.